My name is Stephen David Brooks. I'm a screenwriter, director. I am a former, or as I like to say, recovering visual effects supervisor. I did visual effects early on before I was a professional writer. I'm the world's first Stephen King approved screenwriter. I adapted a short story called The Mangler back in 1994. The story behind it was, it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but I was walking with Tobe Hooper, who was a famous director, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and famous horror director. And our film, the Stephen King story I told you about, The Mangler, had just played at Fantastica in France, up in the Pyrenees, I think. Small town. And we were in Paris walking down a boulevard, and I said, the idea just came to me. And I said, what about a story of two criminals, and every morning they flip a coin to see whose day it is to do, kill, rob, whatever the criminal thing is. That's how they decide who's going to do it that day. And I'm going to call it Heads or Tails. And Toby, being a very clever director, said, call it Heads and Tails. Then it's a buddy movie. And I go, and I said, okay. And I literally went back to the hotel, and on the little notepads in the hotel room, started making notes. And the movie came to me complete. I went home, and in 2 weeks, I just transcribed it from my brain, and that's pretty much what I shot. It was 6 or 7 years before I shot it, but it just came to me complete. And also, because it's a crime comedy, or is it Heads and Tails, and I was getting pigeonholed as a horror writer. In the movie business, when you do one thing, if you're a comedic actor, they don't take you seriously for dramas. If you're a horror writer, they don't take you seriously for crime stories. You get pigeonholed. So I was trying to get out of that pigeonhole by writing this totally different kind of story. Flytrap is about an astronomer who he gets a job at UCLA, and he drives across country. He's British, he drives across country, and gets off the freeway in LA. Now, if you've been to LA, but if you don't have a map or GPS, it's a pretty confusing place to get around. And he gets off, and he makes a wrong turn, goes onto a street, and his car stops. Dead. Like it's dead. His phone dies. There's something that's caught, and he's in front of a house, and he sees this mysterious woman open the curtains, and he goes, well, I'll ask her to use her phone to call for help. Well, he goes in, and she traps him, essentially, and he can't get out. That's why it's called Flytrap. And I don't want to give away too much, but these people living in the house are not who they seem to be. Heads and Tails, I went from professional visual effects supervisor to professional screenwriter. And as I wrote several movies, and the producers kept saying, we're going to let you direct the next one. We're going to let you direct the next one. And of course, they never did. Let me direct second unit, but not first unit. And Heads and Tails came about where someone I knew an investor in Australia who had $50,000 US and a camera, an Arri BL4 and 90,000 feet of film. This was early 2000s when shooting HD was not even a possibility. And I agreed to do it, and I got a line producer together and a cast, and took a script that was budgeted $5 million and rewrote it to shoot at $50,000, the ultimate guerrilla kind of indie movie. And I started shooting, and the money never showed up, and the camera never showed up. So I just financed it myself, and it was a really rewarding experience. And I'm still friends with a number of the actors. In fact, there's an actress who's going to be in my next movie who is the lead in Heads and Tails. And then there was my first foray into film festival. Flytrap was, after Heads and Tails, I thought, well, people are just going to throw money at me and I can start making movies. And of course, that did not happen. And I decided just to make a short. The actress from Heads and Tails, Lucy Jenner, hadn't been working, and we were hanging out, and she just said something about, she goes, we should just do a short. I said, yeah, you're right. And I went home that night, and I wrote 8 pages of what became Binky, and I showed it to her the next day, And somehow I had channeled her life story about her relationship with her father. And I didn't know that was the case. I didn't know this story, but somehow I sensed it. And I wrote this short, and it's the Billy Sly Williams and Lucy Jenner, the two leads of Heads and Tails, one location in a garage. It cost $250 to shoot. I shot it in one day, with lit by one light bulb. I had a DP, I did everything else. And that became Binky, and that started playing festivals. So I had this story, Fly Trap. Once again, it was budgeted at like $6 or $7 million. Takes place in an abandoned Western town in the middle of Arizona. And I rewrote it down to $50,000 to take place in a house in Granada Hills, California. And I cast, once again, actor friends. This great actor who was in The Mangler I met in South Africa named Jeremy Crutchley, who had moved here. And we shot it, and played at festivals, won a bunch of festivals, and so yeah, it just came out of the blue. Happened to meet the guy who had some money. In Paris, there were people from Russia, people from the UK, people from Lithuania, people from everywhere, South America. I mean, it was a real international festival, and which I really like, because I find that in all my experience in festivals is that a writer is a writer, no matter where in the world they're from. There's something similar about them. A director of photography is a director of photography, whether they're from Uruguay or Russia or France or America. There's a sense to them that's the same, and I love that. I still have friends from those festivals. So the experience was great. I mean, and that's the best part of it. The best part of it is seeing what other people do, exchanging ideas, making friends, and then we won. And I was actually shocked because I wasn't expecting it. I mean, after The Mangler in 1994, 95, to the early 90s, I was writing horror movies. Some about giant spiders and that kind of thing. Work for hire, where the company had already sold the movie with giant spiders, so I had to write a story to fit the poster, kind of thing, which is how that part of the business works. They sell a poster, and then you write a script and make a movie to fit the poster, because they've already sold it. So Gary directed my script Spiders for New Image, which was one of these horror movies, the first movie I wrote after The Mangler. And I've known Gary since then. And he hired me recently, late last year, to write a movie called Appleseed, a horror movie that he was getting funded in Ohio. And so we worked on it, we did it. We're actually in prep now. I start shooting next month. We're finalizing the cast. We already have distribution and sales and all that. It's already set. I just need to make the movie and finish it. Also, I'm at the same time finishing up a TV pilot and creating a TV show for some producers. I can't say any more than that because of the non-disclosure agreement, but it's a major, huge, intricate series. Learn the business side. If you are just an artist, you will fail. Not because you don't have the ability to make the film or write the script, but because the business will crush you. Even in the indie film world, even if you self-finance a feature, you have to deal with distributors. Learn how sales work. If you want to work up to bigger and bigger budget movies, learn how the sales process works, learn how marketing works, learn how to deal with, if you're dealing with someone else's money, even if it's a little bit of money, they're going to have some input on the script. They're going to, even if they don't know anything about the movie business, they might say, well, you need to put my daughter in this role, or you need to have a scene at a car dealership because I own a car dealership, or they may make some demand that creatively makes no sense, but you have to understand where that's coming from. It's coming from a business mind, and you have to be able to accommodate that, change the movie to make that work without destroying the heart of what you're doing. So that's what I mean about understanding the business part. go to the events, go to the parties, meet the people who run the festival, meet the programmers. Because then a year later, 2 years later, when you have a film, you have their email address and you can say, look, I just submitted, it was lovely meeting you 2 years ago. Here's the film I talked about. I hope, let me know what you think. But you make a personal connection to a programmer. Because I've helped program festivals, and you're just looking at film after film after film after film. And if someone submits, psychologically, you just pay more attention to it. It's just human nature. So that's an important thing. Flytrap is available, in the US, and I think now UK, Tubi. Tubi has expanded to the UK. So for Americans, it's free on Tubi with ads. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Freevee. It's on Apple. You can rent it. You can rent it on Google Plus. There are some YouTube channels. Indie Rights Movies for Free has a YouTube channel where you can see it, I think internationally, with ads.